Hello, everyone. So, in this video, I want to talk about equalizer, or popularly known as EQ. I'm going to talk about the parameters that are there, what it is, why do we need to use it, when do we use it, any tip for practicing using it, and any other thing that comes around equalizer generally. Okay, so let's make a start. So, starting with what is an equalizer? So, an equalizer is a device that we use in sound engineering to shape the tone of the sound source. So, for example, a vocal that is sounding boomy, then we can use an equalizer to reduce the low end so that the boominess can go away. Or if we wanted to increase the clarity of the sound source, we can increase the high frequency of it as well. So we use an equalizer uh, to um, shape the sound. We also use the equalizer to shape the mix, to balance the mix. So sometimes some sound mask another sound. So we can use an equalizer to turn down some aspect of a sound so that another source can increase. For example, is a piano or a guitar. They are usually in the same range as a singing voice, so we can use equalizer to reduce the mid range of the piano or the guitar, so that the voice can be clearer and sit better in the mix. So, and sometimes we use that in a relationship between a kick drum and a bass as well, because both of them lives in the low end. So we can decide to reduce the bass of the kick drum so that the bass can be more prominent, or reduce the bass of the bass guitar so that the kick drum can be more prominent. So this is a decision that somebody can make in a mix with an equalizer. Okay, so I've talked about why do we need EQ, or when do we need equalizer. So now let me talk about what are the parameters that we use to shape to do these things that I mentioned. To be able to do that, I have to switch to my screen, and then we will carry on from there. Okay. So now this is an equalizer from the X32 core. So this is the X32 mix edit app. So X32 or M32, they all work together really. So if you have one of them, you can practice along. But then if you don't, still it's fine. The concept there is still the same, that you can apply to any mixing console really, or even a DAW, because it's all EQ really. So one of the main parameters of an EQ, and especially this type of EQ, which is a parametric EQ, is the fact that you have the um, the mode of the EQ, or of the frequency, and then you have the gain, you have the frequency that you're changing, and then what is called the Q control. So let's, for example, I will switch to a channel that I'm not using, so that I'm not changing the voice now. So let's, for example, choose this one now. The frequency that's there is at the moment is 101.4. So that's the frequency that I want to affect. And the gain at the moment is 00, because I haven't increased it. The way to increase it, just to click here and move on. So I have to turn the EQ on as well with that. So if I push it up like that, it's going to increase the gain. See, now the gain has changed to 6.5 dB, and then I can reduce that to reduce that frequency. Then the other parameter there is quite useful to know about, is the Q control. At the moment it's 2. So a lower Q control means a wider frequency band. So what is frequency band? The frequency band is the range of which you're controlling. So normally this frequency here is like a center frequency, but the Q determine how wide it will control around that frequency. So if I increase that Q to say 8, for example, well 7.8, then the Q uh the range lowered. So that's something that you want to quickly pick up there. That the higher Q means a narrower um, width, and a smaller Q means a wider bandwidth. I know it's like, you know, opposites, counter opposite of everything, but that works with every EQ that you know around. So the lower number means a wider frequency range, and a higher number means a narrower frequency range. So to get even narrower range here can go to 10. I think 10 is the highest for these EQ. There are other EQs that goes up to 20 and stuff. So now um what that means is that I'm able to narrow the frequency, the range of control that I have on that frequency range. So now when I turn things up and down, it only affects few um, frequencies. But if I change it to 2, then it's affecting a lot of the range from here to here. Okay. The other part, the other type of um, mode that someone can use. So if you can consider the mode that is PEQ, says P parametric equalizer. The other mode there is low shelf. So that can be a low shelf. It's used to be in the low frequencies, can be used to turn things down, or so you control from that frequency up to the end, or from the beginning of the frequency from 20 hertz. So you use that to increase everything in the low or everything below there. And then you have the low cut as well. So that can only cut everything below there. So low cut there. But usually this doesn't need to happen there, because there is a low cut already in here. So someone can decide uh to use that for the low cuts already. So someone don't need to use a low cut here again. Don't worry, I'm gonna practice it with a sound. I'm only just giving you the parameters, what they do now, and later I'm going to demonstrate it as well. Um, then the so for the I cuts and stuff, the PQ and VQ, they're almost the same thing really. So I wouldn't dwell on that as much. So I'll go to the high part, which is this one here, so that I'll go on the I shelf. The I shelf is similar to that low shelf, so you can use it to turn it down and turn it up. But the frequency there is um the frequency that it will start from. So after that frequency, it will, for everything to the right is going to be turned up. Everything to the right is going to be turned down if you push it down. Then you have the I cut. This I cut is going to cut down from that frequency down. It can only use to cut it down. So sometimes it's good to cut down something from the high frequencies, so maybe around 13K or 14K, because normally our human ears cannot hear anything even uh, from 16K. Most people cannot hear what's there really. So there is no need to have it present, and also you can start to cause problem if you have too much of it in the signal. So that's one of the main thing. So that's the main thing to know about equalizers. The other equalizers do other things, but for the sake of the video, the length of the video, there's no need for me to go through any other thing than that. The Other thing now I want to go into is how to use these parameters. So to be able to do that, I'm going to use my speaking voice now, um, and then I will not demonstrate how to use those things. So normally, like I mentioned before, it's set in bands. So you can see this stuff that I've turned down means that I've turned down some things that I think are not sounding right. Um, then I've increased the iPads, the I frequency just a little bit, just to give it a more clarity, but not too much because too much of it can start to sound too brittle. So can you hear that starting to like a ash sound? So, but without it, it sounded a little bit slightly dull. So increase a little bit to get that. The way I practice using EQ is I first of all save what I have now. So something that have now that sounds good. Yeah, I can work with that. I save it in this mixer. You can go into library and choose save something and then save whatever you want to save. So this moment I'm choosing EQ. So I'll save it as a before EQ. So save. And then I will now reset that. And I reset that. So even I will turn this off as well. So now this is how the microphone sounds like without any equalizer. You can hear some plosive sound there. That's one of the things that we use the low ends to remove. So the first thing to do to address approach an equalizer is to do that low end. Those plosive sound is one of the most obvious sound that we don't really want to be hearing. So if you put that on, you can see that it was just around that 68 hertz before. We can the rule of thumb to setting the low cut is to turn it close to off first and then start to bring it up until you start to remove some of the low end. When you find where you start to remove the low ends, you now bring it back up again. So somewhere here, I'm hearing that the low end is going down already. So I just bring it back up again so that it will catch the main bulk of the low end, but then the unwanted low plosives and you know any rumble noise that are there has been cut off. Then the next thing is to listen for any issues, any problem that you can hear in the sound. I don't know about you, but what I'm hearing that come jump out to me the most is that boxy sound that are there. Pop, pop, pop. If you can hear that boxy sound that are there. The boxy sound is usually around that mid range, that between that 200 to 500 hertz range. So it's gonna be this one here. So around that 200 500 range. So what I'm gonna do is just to emphasize it a little bit more so that I can hear it even better. So there, can you hear that now? So now me knowing that it's around that range is come from experience. So this now come from practice now. This is what you now keep practice to know where it is. But usually the boxes sound is usually around that low mid range, 200 to 500 range it. So now increase that to find where there is. I know it's not here anymore because the boxes sound is gone. And if you can see that, that's 500 there. So it's going to be around here. So now I just need to now increase that key to the maximum, which is 10, and then find where the issue is most prominent. So sweep between before that 500 because I've gotten that it's just before that 500. So I'm just going to try and find where is more prominent It sounds like around here. The other thing that to avoid is to increase it too much. If you have to increase it too much to hear the issue, then there's probably no issue there. Just about 3 to 5 dB should be enough to hear an issue. If you can't hear it between 3 to 5 dB, then don't worry about it. There is really no issue there. Okay, so um, and then when cutting it down as well, you don't want to cut too much as well. So maybe like 3 to 5 dB as well. So again, going back to these. Okay, so um, around here is that boxy sound. Just around here, just around there. Okay, I think it's more common there. Just for emphasis, for you to hear it. Maybe you're not hearing properly. I'll just increase it a little bit more for you to hear. Can you hear that? Just around there, boom, boom, boom. You hear that boom, 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 boom. So now what I'm gonna do now is to turn that down. So again, you can see the dB of turning it down there. Just -6 there. I'm just gonna leave it alone right there. Okay. So now the other thing it's good to do is after you've make a move, turn it off and then do it before and after. See, have you actually improved it? So like if I turn that off now, you can hear that boxy sound coming back, and then if I turn it off, you can see that there's that boxy sound is not there anymore and it's clearer. So after that, the next thing that I'm hearing now is there is a bit of a nasality there as well. So it's like as if I've got a cold. There's like a nasal sound there. The nasal sound is usually around the 1000 hertz range. So around there. So nasal sound. So around there. So again, before setting the cue, I will still first of all find where it is. So somewhere around there. So you can see that it's more convenient here. I can hear that nasal sound even more better now when I've increased it. So it just is around +5. So I don't need to turn it up to +10 to hear it. Just around +5, I hear it. But then, but I don't want to turn down everything like this, because if I turn everything like that, I'll be turning down too many. So I need to make the cue to be a narrow cue. We again use the highest possible, which is 10, but then it doesn't have to be the highest possible all the time. But for this one, 10 seems to be reasonable because it's not too narrow as well. Sometimes too narrow, you won't hear the effects when it's too narrow. So, uh, so yeah, somewhere there. So it's not here anymore because I'm not hearing the Nessa anymore here. So it has to be somewhere around here. So now, when I find it, I'll now turn that down. Okay. So again, this is another way to use it here as well. So you keep turning it down until you cannot hear it anymore. Keep turning down, you cannot hear it anymore, and then back it up a little bit as well, so that you're not turning down too much. Because if you turn it down too much, you lose some of the quality of the sound. Okay. The last issue I'm hearing now is what can be called like a boomy sound, muddy sound. Some can call it muddy, some can call it moody, boomy. It's on that low end. This part usually is good for a male voice to have the bass and stuff in it. But for me, it's this the room and everything. It's not as clear. It doesn't make it to be as clear as I want it to be. So if I increase that, can you hear that boominess more? Yes, somebody may like that more, but for me, I like it to be a little bit more tamed down. With this one, I will actually try to not reduce change the key. I just try taking that down like that. Can you hear the difference immediately? Can you hear the clarity? So before me touching increasing anything, The sound is already getting clear. It's already getting clear. So um, let's play with that cue and see. So change that cue to 5. Okay. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave that cue alone. Just to roll off a lot of that low end, and then it's gonna bring in the make it more clearer. So now let me follow what I just said before. So turn it off. That's off there. Booming sound, booming, and on. No more booming. All clear. The other thing as well, that because you see me talking about clear and bright, is good for usually a voice to hear, because our ears normally hear um, sound more in that uh, 1 to 4K range, to hear that clarity of sound in there. So it's good to turn things up in that area. So that's what I'm going to use this last band on top to do. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to that around uh, 3 3K, 4K range, and then start to turn it up. Yes, I'm turning this. So this is okay, iShelf. So I'm turning everything up there up. So start to increase that. So just be careful when increasing that, because you can hear that. You can hear what is called siblings. You can hear that sound. It's because I've increased that. When I reduce that, that sound is not as annoying anymore. So even though when I increase it, it brings a little bit more, make the sound more clearer and more crisper. But we don't want to do it too much of that. If we turn that down, we can hear that it's not even as clear anymore. It sounds muffled, right? So muffled is like somebody use their hand to cover their mouth when speaking. So now use that to bring in the clarity, and most likely you hear the difference in there. Let's turn that off. Turn that off. You can hear that it's good, but then it's better with this turned on. Okay, so now I would say just a quick second. I've quickly EQ'd this spoken word, and then what I'll now do is to now save that, so that I'll be able to do a before and after. So I think I save a before over here. So I'll save this one as a after EQ, and I've chosen EQ there. It says save. So again, after EQ, enter, and press enter, and okay to save it. Okay, so now the reason why I'm saving it is so that I'll be able to hear a before and after. Okay, so now I will load these so that I can hear that before. So you load, either you double click it or just click on load there. This is how it sounds before. Okay, so let me just write it again. Before you change, that's how it sounds before. Yes, you can see that there is a bit of a change there. This is another subjective part of EQ. It's how I think I've done this. I probably did this EQ some days ago when I'm setting up for this YouTube session, and then now I did an EQ live now, and you can see that I did something different. So this is now what I sounds better now. Now I want you to tell me, which one do you think sound better? Is it this before EQ or the after EQ? I literally just now have an opinion of which one sounds better, but I want to hear from you in the comment section. Which one do you think sound better? Is it before EQ? Is it this before EQ or this after EQ? even if you don't want to say which one sound better, what are the characteristics of that before? Because this is part of the ear training. This is how you're gonna develop with EQ to be able to say which one is so this is before again. Which one? What is the characteristics of this sound and of this before sound, and what is the characteristics of this after sound? And then you say which one do you prefer in between the two. I think I know the one I prefer between the two. Okay, so now that is that for this video. So like I said, practice, practice, practice. That's really how to get better with EQ or even anything with sound engineering. It's like, a sound engineer is like a musician, really. The more time you put in practice, the the better you're gonna get. So you can't skip practicing it. You can't skip just opening your door or opening your mixer and just do it. Either you do it with your own voice or we do with a recorded voice. So as I said, leave a feedback on the comment and let me know what you think about the video and which one of the EQ sounds better to you or any difference. All right. Thank you so much for watching to the end. And I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.